Welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abassi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor, and I'm out on my favorite bench. And no crazy lady has walked by and yelled at me. So that's a good day. I decided to go to the pool and chillax. I brought myself a little picnic. And a ton of my neighbors were there, and the cutest little squishy girls, my favorite little girls, were there. So I got to see them hooting and hollering and playing uh what's it called? We have to think of this, people. It's where you close your eyes and you say Marco Polo. That's it. Um So anyway, here we are, and I'm getting ready to head home, and I'm going to make a Chinese chicken spaghetti sort of meal. And I'm also going to be making chicken Kiev. So I make half of it tonight, and then I make the other half tomorrow. It requires me to grind chicken and mix it with ground bacon, and then you stuff it with dill, and then you deep fry it. Sounds good, but it has to go in the freezer overnight. So I'm going to do the chicken part of it today. So I feel a little flighty right now. So you are forewarned that I feel flighty. So today's topic is step 6. And for those of you who are not in the recovery program, I will help you through what that means. And I think it's something that even people who are not in recovery can benefit from. And what it is basically is a step in being open and willing to address your character defects. So that stuff that tends to make you do the things that you end up having to apologize for, that kind of stuff. And I'm simplifying it, of course, but so step 6 is the way that it's worded is we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So in step 4, we write down a list of all the people that we're pissed at. Okay, that's how I summarize it. And then we look at what is my role in that relationship and what may be that's the introduction to the character defects of what may be my contribution to the issue. And later in the program, we actually address it. We actually, if it's not acceptable, if it's, see, I'm having a hard time with words. If it's appropriate, there's the word, we will talk to the person and we will make right what was once wrong. But step 6 is where we start really looking at these character defects, looking at our role, looking at what actions and thoughts do we have around our individual relationships and when I'm navigating life. When stuff is normal, what am I doing? What am I doing when nobody's looking? That kind of stuff. And when I first approached this step, I didn't really know what I was supposed to do. It felt like it's often misunderstood as a passive step. And really, it is making a decision. It's just like steps 1 and 2 in my eyes. It made me feel the same way where you're making a decision and becoming willing. And so what I likened it to this morning was it's spiritual readiness, like you're standing at the starting line of a foot race and you're preparing yourself, you're putting your fingers on the line and you're getting down in that groovy pose where you're getting ready to uh go. When the gun is shot, you're ready to start the race. That's really what I compare it to, step six. So being willing and then getting honest. I think the honesty really starts when we start. Well, the honesty starts in step one, if I'm being completely honest. But the readiness is, I mentioned yesterday that I feel like everybody wants to change. Everybody has this want to change, be it in big ways or small ways, um, looks or like just being a better human being or whatever. This is a willingness to cooperate with our higher power. In my case, my higher power is everything outside of myself. So a cooperation with everything outside of myself. And honesty is crucial. I can't release character defects that I'm still justifying or that I'm hiding, that I'm acting like aren't happening. The only person suffering from me lying to myself is me. I mean, I'm sure I'm indirectly uh making other people suffer when I lie to myself. Because they have to suffer the consequences of my craziness. But uh, the I think survival in sobriety starts with being able to manage our own defects. So I've talked about this before, and this is what comes up in step six, is that we were given these instincts for survival. And I've talked about it with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you are new to the podcast and you have not listened to the episodes from Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you can search for it, and there's quite a few episodes that I did on that, but that was like the beginning of my recovery, and it gave me a really, really nice foundation to understand what my needs are, what these instincts are that I have, and how sometimes these instincts far outweigh, they exceed their purpose. So some of the examples that I heard in the literature today was greed masquerading as ambition. Side note, I almost said a different word than masquerading. I'm just saying. Okay. Ego disguising itself as confidence. That's a big one for me. And criticism of other people as a form of self-protection or control. That's a big one for me too. And when distorted, these instincts cause us suffering, cause the stuff between my ears to go haywire, and they separate me from other people. They separate us from each other. So it's fascinating how these instincts are meant to protect us, and yet if we aren't hyper aware, they end up being something that can hurt us and hurt other people in a lot of deep, deep, meaningful ways, So how do I get ready? That was the question that kind of echoed in my head in the beginning of reading about step six. I was like, okay, well, how do I? Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, I'm ready. But I have to be, so they include the word entirely ready. That means that I've got a ton of character defects. I've got a ton of stuff that I do that's habit for me. Am I entirely ready to be molded? That's what I think about. It's like, am I willing to turn from being a hardened statue of a person, of a shell, or am I willing to be moldable, like clay? And when I can turn myself into clay, that means that I'm willing to, like, mold it, let some of that stuff come to the surface. And when I see it, because it's not all gonna be apparent to me in the beginning, I still am on a regular basis running across different character defects of my own, and old ones will come up frequently. And I need to continue to be moldable. And that's what entirely ready is remaining willing, remaining open. Am I truly willing to look at it? Am I truly willing to, like, pick up the phone and be like, hey, sponsor, I just did this and I know it was wrong. I just said this to my husband and it really wasn't very nice. Do I trust that if I talk about it, that it's something that can be removed, that I can let go of, that can be released? Since I'm still on this faith journey and I'm trying to figure out my concept of my higher power, sometimes I'm challenged with when people say in the meeting that God released me from my character defects. I'm kind of like, hmm, um, was he really participating actively? Or, like, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like it's being open to um cooperating with my higher power, that which is outside of myself, including family, fellowship, friends, to figure it out, and where applicable, replace a character defect with a more positive action. Where that doesn't fit in, being able to let go, being able to, like, pull out the old God box and write it down in there and just let it go. Sometimes we got to write things down over and over and over again, before we're able to let them go. But been there, done that. So step 6 for me was not by any means some sort of demand for instant transformation. It took me a couple years to even figure out what was going on. Like, there's lots of people who reference the book called Drop the Rock, and it's a good one, but I still didn't get it. I really had to live it to get it. And what the literature talks about is being willing to walk towards perfection with open-mindedness and patience. We're never going to be perfect, but am I willing to work on my own spirituality and be patient for that improvement to happen? And the whole time, sorry, I've got like something that's landing on me. I don't know what it is. I swear I'm allergic to the outside, and yet I love the outside. Something that's like itching, and they're like little and like yellow. I don't know what it is. I swear I'm not creepy. So it's being willing and open, entirely ready that whole entire time to cooperate. And that sometimes can get tiring. It can get tiring. And I remember, that was a fly. I remember being a couple years into sobriety where I was like, I'm kind of tired of this. I'm kind of tired of trying to be willing and working the program and doing all these things. Like, I just want to live. Well, I recognized pretty quickly that it's harder to live without doing all of these things. And that's why I'm here. Um, and over time, I've stopped thinking that it's tiring. It's not. It's much easier to live this way and live in self-awareness than to not pay attention to what's going on between my ears and how I react to people and being of service to other people and being focused outward instead of inward. Like, it's a lot harder to deal with the repercussions of not living according to the principles of the program. So, step six is just the beginning of opening ourselves up to that, letting go of the obsession to drink. Like, if that was already removed, um, if I'm already like living day to day and being like, okay, I'm not going to drink today. Um, why can't why can't my other defects be released? Why can't I be kinder? Why can't I be honest? Why can't I stay connected to my family? Why can't I be of service? Why can't I think of others before I think of myself? I can, and I didn't know that I could. I've always said to my husband that he is like the most selfless person I've ever met. I just didn't know how to think of other people. I didn't. That sounds ridiculous, I know, but I didn't. I was selfish. And sometimes I can still be selfish. It's a character defect. I think all of us as human beings it's our instinct, you know? So, um, our part for step six is to stay willing, stay honest, stay connected to the program, and practice the spiritual principles in all of our affairs. And all of our affairs means if I'm sitting here, like last time when I was sitting here and that lady, that lady went by, my instinct is to protect myself. And if I didn't have my earphones in and I heard what she said to me, I possibly would have reacted. And that's not practicing the principles. It's not. So taking that spirit, that posture of readiness is not it's not it takes time. I think that's my point. It takes time. We don't just get to the starting line and perfectly shape ourselves and ready for the life's race. We sometimes we just show up. Sometimes we just put ourselves at the starting line. And with time and help from other people who tell me how to shape myself before I start, I can start looking at what defects do I still have and where can I become more willing to cooperate with my higher power in order to release them. So that's what I've got for you today. It's a beautiful day. I hope you got to enjoy it. I certainly did. And it's time for me to now go home and start grinding some chicken. Yum, yum. So I will talk to you tomorrow.